again, everybody. This is the Master Chief coming to you from 10,000 feet in the Colorado Rockies. These next few episodes, we're going to talk about medical, how to pack, what to take, bare minimums, what to take for certain events. We're going to talk about some of the things that are common in every medical kit that you'll put together. These are the basics that will go in no matter what you're doing, whether you're hiking, biking, in the mountains, hunting in cold weather, hunting in warm weather, turkey hunting in Florida. All of these basics, you'll have certain things that will be in every single kit. We're going to talk about how to pack, what to take, what I like to take, what I've used, what's worked for me. We're going to go everything from an individual first aid kit all the way through some of the mass casualty kits and what to take. And then actually what I carry for mountain rescue in the wintertime on the back of my snowmobile. This is runs on the tunnel of my snowmobile. So we're going to cover a little bit of everything, but we're going to start with the very basics and then add up to there for each kind of environment on what you should take, what you should pack, and what you should always have. As we get into this, there's going to be certain things that are going to go into every kit, and you're going to add to your kit from there. The basics are the basics, and they'll always be that way. So sometimes you'll start adding more items of that same item, like a tourniquet, or an H-bandage, or a Olay's combat dressing, or anything like that. But these will always be in every kit, and this is the bare basics. If I was going to go out in the field with any medical kit I had and I had to go light, this is what it would be. So what I have here is a couple different variations of a couple different of these. So, but these are the basics that you'll have in every kit. Whether it's a smaller kit, a little bit larger kit, or a medium kit, you can add to it. But if you had to get down to a very compact, you know, this is all I can take, this is all the weight I can handle, these are the items that I would take and I have taken on either rescues or even when I was in the military and the SEAL teams on combat missions. This was a basic blowout kit or a basic individual first aid kit. So the first and number one is a tourniquet, a very good tourniquet. Both of these are good tourniquets. I prefer the soft T. One of the reasons I do prefer the soft T is the band comes apart. So if you have to use it on someone with large amounts of clothing on, anything like that, you can actually unhook it and wrap it around instead of having to slide it all the way over, you know, let's say a ski with a partial amputation or something like that, or a trapped individual that you have to get a tourniquet on, which is one of the reasons that I prefer the soft T over the cat. The cat's very, very, very good. However, I do like the metal windlass versus the plastic windlass. I work up in extreme cold, so anything that's metal, I like to stick with metal. So a tourniquet of any kind is good. So we'll just set our kit as we build it aside here, and then we'll build it from there. The other thing is, very first thing is also PPE, a good set of gloves. You know, you can bunch these up in a very small little bit, put a rubber band around them. I like to use an old school 35 millimeter film case, and I'll just stuff a couple pairs of these in there. That way they stay semi-waterproof, dust-proof, and they stay clean. So a good set of gloves. So that will also be in our kit, our basic kit. The other is a good combat dressing or good dressing. We have the emergency dressing, the H-bandage here. We also have the Olay's combat bandage. They're both 4-inch bandages. A good 4-inch bandage is about, if I were going to take one bandage, it would be a 4-inch. So either one of these would be acceptable. But one of these is going to be in your basic kit and in every kit after that. So we'll put the Olay's over here. We'll set this one aside. The other thing that should be in every kit is a good set of Celox Z-Fold or some kind of hemostatic gauze. I prefer the Celox. I like the Celox, but there's lots of different brands out there that are building these. I prefer the gauze over some of the old school powders or pads, just because the gauze, the Z-Fold, it comes out, you can stuff it into open wounds. You can, use it over larger wounds if you have to. So my preference is the Z-Fold. So that will go aside with our kit. Couple different variations here as well is a cravat. One of the most universal things, you can use it to make splints. You can use it to immobilize an arm. You can use it to tie the bandage on a wound. But one of the most versatile things is a cravat or a triangle bandage. Again, many different brands. There's the old school military, comes in a very small. There's some of the triangular bandages that are being produced. There's the larger kind of burn style triangle bandage, but any of those, you should always have a triangle bandage in your kit, and that's a preferable thing. So we'll just set one aside. Last couple items. Chest seal. They're small. You can actually use them. They'll bunch up, fold up, and you can get them into your kit. So I always have a chest seal with me. I've dealt with these a lot over my career, and I've just found that I'm willing to take this wherever in case I need it, because there's not a lot you can do if you don't have a good one of these with an open chest wound. So this is going to be one of the things that's going to be in our basic kit. And the last thing that I would take is a nasopharyngeal, NPA. This is a breathing tube. Of course, you see it's got some lubricant. You can improvise on the lubricant, but this is one of the things that will be in every one of my kits. So when you stack it all up, it makes a pretty compact, small kit that you can take in a small bag, throw it in your pack, whatever. These all compress down a little bit. Last disclaimer I'll say is always check and look at expiration dates. Check your kits once a year. Make sure you got, in current stuff. Also make sure that, gloves, things are working good. A lot of times the NPAs will stick together when they're compressed for a long time. So just do a good once over on your gear. And the last thing I'll say is always, try to get training, basic life support, CPR, seek out training always to be able to use some of this stuff effectively. But this is the basic kit that will go in every kit that we build. The next basic kit we're going to build is a basic hiking, possibly overnight, camping trip along the river, fishing trip, hiking trip, hunting, small hunt, overnight hunting trip. We're going to add to our basic kit, and we'll go over the basic kit again. It's a good set of hemostatic gauze, quick clot, whatever you want to call it, Celox, or we're going to add into the quick clot. This is in our basic, so this is going to be in every kit we got. A good bandage, combat dressing, either an H bandage or 4-inch. Again, I like the 4-inch. So this is our basic stuff. As always, our PPE, our sets of gloves to protect ourselves. A good chest seal. We won't go over this in depth, but this is our basic kit. A very good tourniquet. Always have at least one of those with you at all times. A triangle bandage or cravat. We'll have that. And again, these will all be in our basic kit. And then an NPA or nasopharyngeal with some lubricant. So this is all in our basic kit. This is what we're starting with in every kit we build. So now we're going to start talking about, overnight camping, smaller little incidents happening, with camping, fishing, hiking, hunting, sharp things, sharp tools, sharp sticks, stuff like that. Also campfires, some other things. So we want to keep aware of, building our kits for purpose built. So some things we'll add to this kit, to our basic kit, for basically a 1 or 2 day overnight camping trip, couple people, family members, whatever. So a couple things we're going to add. We're going to add, we'll probably add another set of quick clot or Z-fold gauze, whichever brand you prefer. So we're going to add that to it. We're going to add a couple of sterile pads. They're single-use, sterile pads. They can be used in a lot of things. You can use them to clean off, what looks like maybe a major wound, but turns out to be a minor wound. So we're going to add some gauze pads. We're going to add a good set of trauma shears. I've talked about this before. When you do buy trauma shears, always buy quality stuff. Any of your medical gear. If you're willing to carry medical gear, don't buy cheap stuff. Buy good stuff that will last. You know, you only buy a quality tool once, so a really good set of trauma shears is we're going to add to this too. Also, we're going to add a couple of elastic ace bandages. Very universal. You can make splints out of them. You can use them to immobilize joints. You can use them to wrap a sprained ankle, sprained wrist, anything like that. So this is what we're going to add to our camping kit, is a couple of ace bandages. The other thing we're going to add is a package of crinkle gauze. This is very highly compressed gauze that comes out. You can use it to bind wounds, stuff into wounds, wrap wounds, abrasions, stuff like that. So we're going to add some crinkle gauze to this kit. Also, all weathers would pack a space blanket or emergency blanket. This is a really good one. It's nice and compact. You can also, because of the reflective nature, use this as a signaling device. So we're going to add an emergency blanket. We're going to add some flexible tape, adhesive gauze tape that works really good to bind. Works really good with your ace bandages, so you don't cut off circulation. It does expand. So we're going to add a roll of that. We're going to add a whistle. Whistles are always good just to have. They're small, they're light, they're useful not only for emergency use, but just lost people, things like that. So we're going to add a whistle to this. And then we're going to add a few small things that go compact. When you start adding stuff like this, I like to put all of these in a small Ziploc bags. I really like the heavy duty 20 mil Ziploc bags. You can get them in all sizes. Pretty much buy them anywhere, but we're going to have an assortment of things. The first thing we're going to have on here is a set of, good bandages. Again, don't buy discount bandages, Band-Aids. Get good ones, good name brands that will work. Check them out every year. Get a couple butterflies, a couple different sizes of regular bandages, and we'll put those in our kit. These will all go in a small bag. Other thing, pretty much everywhere, if it's summertime, is a couple burn and sting pads. This will be good for mosquito bites, bug bites, bees, wasps, things like that, spiders. So a couple of these, again, very compact, individually wrapped. So we're going to add some bee sting, some bug bite. We're going to add those into our kit. We're going to add a couple of alcohol prep pads, sterile alcohol prep pads, very universal. You can use them to clean small wounds. They have antiseptic properties, so a good sterile alcohol prep. We're going to add some Key antiseptic towels. These are a little bigger. This is more of an antiseptic than a cleaning like the alcohol pad would be. So we're going to add a couple of those into our little baggie inside our kit. Of course, campfires, anything like that. We're going to, out in the sun, sunburns, we're going to add a couple small tubes of burn gel. Always good to have, especially, making s'mores around the campfire, stuff like that. Get a pop. We're going to add some basic antiseptic if you do have to use one of the bandages or gauze to make a bandage. And, you want to use some ointment, antibacterial, so we're going to add a couple of those. And then just for general purpose, if you do have to, we're going to add a couple small single-use packs of ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is an anti-inflammatory. It also helps with pain, so we're going to add this. These will all go in a small bag. You can see how they will collapse down very, very nicely into a small little small Ziploc bag. Fold it up, get it into your kit, and then all of this together, find an appropriate size packaging and bag that you can stack all this up. You can see there's not a lot here, and it will go into a very nice small container, small pouch, small ditty bag, however you want to do it. But this is your basic, hey, I'm going hunting for the weekend with the boys, or I'm going camping with my wife and kids, or I'm just going hiking. General purpose. It's a little bit bigger than just an individual bare bones, but this is where we get into some more just small episode events, which is what I call them. I got a little burn from the campfire. I grabbed something I shouldn't have. I got stung by a bee. Fell down a shale hill and got a couple abrasions. This is all stuff that can take care of that. Plus, be prepared for some, pretty major stuff. We got some major medical that can take care of some big stuff too. Building on the bigger camping trip size medical kit, we're going to add a few things for maybe a longer duration. Something where you're a little bit further away from definitive care. These things are things that I would want to have with me through my experience. 25 years in the SEAL teams, along with the last 5 years working on the advanced sled team for search and rescue up in the mountains in the wintertime. So we're going to add a few things for maybe a longer duration to our basic kit, which we've talked about previously, and then add to that some of our additional items for weekend stay, things like that. So now we're going to add a few more things into a longer duration. And remember, you guys can mix and match this stuff for a specific environment. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily take a cold pack up in the mountains in the snow. It doesn't really make sense because you've got cold pack all around you. You wouldn't necessarily take bug and bee sting ointment up in the mountains in the wintertime. However, you also wouldn't take some of the things we need up here, extra clothing, stuff like that, if we're out in the Everglades in Florida. So, but a couple things we're going to add to our basic kit, and then our additionals for a weekender kit. And now we're getting into kind of a week-long, little bit more. Everything's common to all over here, but a couple things we're going to add. We're going to add one more crinkle gauze. Again, a longer trip, you have the problem that you might have multiple people or multiple accidents. So we're just going to add a few things to this kit. Remember, every time we add stuff, it makes it bigger. You got to pack it. It's totally good if you're in your vehicle, and this is really we're building a good medical kit to have in your vehicle or to have in your home, have at your campsite, things like that. If you're a trailer camper or an RV camper, this is something that you could build and really have a robust kit. But back down to hiking, camping, loading, all that kind of stuff. You want to have your basic kits on the outside readily available, and then your more advanced stuff, maybe packed away in a pouch on your backpack. But back to it. So some of the things we're going to add to our basic kit, and then our kind of weekend kit, is we're going to add another crinkle gauze. This will add to the one we've already got, and so that will get the ability to have multiple wounds, multiple dressings. Other thing we are going to add a cold pack to this. This is one of the great cold packs that you can put on a sprained ankle, eye injury, burn injury, things like that. So we're going to add a cold pack to this, and we're building these mix and matching for our environment. A couple other things we're going to add is we're going to add some rolled gauze. Rolled gauze works really good on all applications, for everything from cleaning a wound down to packing a wound, packing for transport, getting someone to definitive care. So we're gonna add a package of the big rolled gauze, and then one package of the small rolled gauze. Again, we want to check our expiration dates on these, make sure that everything's still good, sterile, make sure that everything's ready for when you do want to go or do need to use it. It's all good. So we're going to add some gauze to this. We're also going to add some pads. We're going to add some 4x4 sponge pads. These are good for building a dressing, where you can build a dressing, put pressure on it, stop the bleeding, wrap this, add another one, wrap this with an ACE bandage, and then that will get till you get to definitive care. We're also going to add some ABD pads. These are similar to these, but they're quite a bit thicker for maybe a heavier bleeding wound. Head wounds always bleed a lot. So we're going to add a couple of these in here. And remember, as we add stuff, it always adds bulk, so you have to use your best judgment on the environment you're going to be, where you're going to be at, on what we're going to add and subtract to our first aid kits. So this is what we're going to add on top of this. We're also going to add a roll of really good medical tape. This is good for building splints, finger splints, anything like that, where you have to use tape. You got to be careful with the rigid tape. You don't want to wrap too tight, cut off circulation. You always want to check circulation. But this works really good to affix bandages, to tape. It's very adhesive and works really well. So we want to take a good roll of medical tape. The other thing we're going to add, and you can really add this to any of your kits, this is basically some second skin. You can use it for blisters, to put over almost under moleskin or something like that. You can also use it for small cuts and abrasions. I've got my service dog that goes with me everywhere. He tends to get himself into scrapes. So I carry a small bottle of the Gorilla Glue gel. I like the gel because it's not as runny. I can get it right on, get it to dry, and then it provides that second layer. You can use that also to close small cuts. So we're going to add this, and again, this can be added to any kits, however you want. The other thing we're going to add is a couple sets of tweezers and hemostats to, if you have to remove splinters, sticks, small rocks from an abrasive, slide down a hill, you get all the rocks in your skin and you got to kind of get them out. It's not as easy to go in, especially with my big pick stickers. It's not as easy to get in there, so it's a lot more delicate to get in there with a smaller set of tool to get some of that debris out of there so we can prevent infection. So these are the things we're going to add, kind of more of our week-long, or in our camper or in our RV, in our trucks, things like that. We're going to build now, building off of our individual bare basics, what we have, added to it kind of our weekend camping, hiking trip, add to that kind of our week-long hunting, fishing, go in your RV or in your camper or permanently in your truck or stuff like that. Now we're going to kind of add a few items to build kind of an emergency preparedness kit. Hurricanes, power outages, snowstorms, tornadoes, things where, we may have to deal with a lot of stuff, or we may have a long time, but we're not necessarily worried about transporting this in our backpacks on our back or on our ATV or whatever we're traveling with. So bicycles, mountain bikes, things like that. This is going to be more of, a go bag that we'll have, ready to go, that if we do experience one of these traumatic events, that we've got pretty much everything we need to take care of our loved ones and people that get injured, or maybe our neighbors, over a period of time until emergency services rescue all get to us. So we're going to take our basic kit, which is our individual first aid kit, the bare bones. We added to that these items for our weekender camping, hiking, biking trip, which we added to that to kind of our week-long standard kit. So this all goes together, and what we're going to add to it, again, more for a long-term definitive care, emergencies, who knows what's going to happen for significant events. So to be prepared, these are the things we're going to add. The first thing we're going to add 2 additional large format bandages. You can use the Olays, the H bandage, but any 4-inch bandage we're going to add to the ones we already have on here. Next thing we're going to add is we're going to add a couple more packages of crinkle gauze. This stuff, you can't have enough. Add 2 more of our crinkle gauze. The other thing we're going to add is a dedicated burn pad. We have the burn gel from our second additional kit, but now we're going to add like a burn pad. You never know, if you're a long ways from someone or definitive care where you have to, an oil burn or something like that. So we're going to add a definitive burn pad for that. We're also going to add 2 more triangle bandages. For examples, I've used 2 different brands, but 2 additional triangle bandages. This will prepare you to have a couple of, ready to go, along with the ones we've already got in our basic kits, in our basic kits and advanced kits. We're also going to add another tourniquet. Me personally, even when I'm going out regular, I carry 2 tourniquets with me everywhere I go. So for this, we're going to add one. Again, you can add, subtract, combine from different sides to build what you're doing specifically. So we're going to go ahead and add an additional tourniquet. We're also going to add some splint material. Many different vendors this one's a rolled one. They have flat ones. You can actually unroll this and flatten it out. But we're going to add some splint material, this along with, some ace bandages. You can immobilize and build a splint, at least to ease someone's pain until you can get fair. We're also going to add another package of quick clot gauze, either Z-fold or dressing. This is a dressing. So we're going to add an extra one of those. We're going to add another one of our elastic tape, or KT tape. This also will work with the splint or with bandaging, because remember, we want to use something that has a little give to it so we don't cut off circulation. There are applications for the hard tape, but we're going to add another one of these to this kit, kind of our emergency preparedness kit. We're also going to add another ace bandage. We've already got some from the basics, so we're going to add one or two, however many you can. Build this kit into a duffel bag, however you want to do it, organize it. So we're going to add another ace bandage. We're also going to add another emergency blanket. This is stuff, remember, this is stuff that we're going to have in a big kit that we're ready for anything. So we're going to add another emergency blanket. These are great for laying down to organize stuff. You can also lay patients on them. You can use them to signal. You can use them to keep people warm. So we're going to go ahead and add another emergency blanket. And the last thing we're going to add is a large format trauma dressing. This will go in again in the bottom and or into your kit. This is very large format, large area coverage, but we're going to add that to this kit, and then this will become our emergency preparedness kit. And this is kind of the basics. I want to re-emphasize, training, certifications. Look at all your expiration dates, because this is for you and your family. So you want to have the best stuff for them. Don't buy cheap stuff.